Hi, it's Tanya from Smart Edition Academy. In today's video, we will go through an Accuplacer writing practice test. You can take this Accuplacer practice test along with me by using the link in the description below. I will review each practice question and explain the correct answer in detail. Be prepared to take notes as you follow along. Now gather your paper, your pen, and a snack, and let's get started. Question number 1. The category here is punctuation. Let's read the passage and answer the question that follows. Our survey revealed some eye-opening results about young people and the role technology plays in their lives. Technology is the primary focus of young people today. In our survey, 85% of those questioned said they spend their free time using technology in some way, whether it's looking through social media sites, playing video games, texting friends, or surfing the web. Our youth spends a horrifying amount of time on screens. The days of hanging with friends, being outside in nature, and reading a good book for fun seem to be long gone. Natalie Greenberg from the Perkins Institute claims that studies have shown a direct correlation between too much screen time and rising depression rates among teens. Greenberg explains screen time has an impact on how they view themselves. This is based on the amount of likes someone gets on social media sites or the number of texts someone receives from his or her peers. Cyberbullying is also a big issue with technology. Kids are able to freely say anything they want behind a screen. Greenberg states, since they are bullying from a keyboard, kids are no longer exposed to the social cues like facial expressions and body language, which may stop the behavior. As a result, cyberbullying has become rampant, which has led to more depression. Now, what we need to do is select the correct punctuation option for the underlined portion at point 1 in the passage. The underlined portion is lives, period, technology. Both of these sentences read, our survey revealed some eye-opening results about young people and the role technology plays in their lives. Technology is the primary focus of young people today. Our choices are no change, lives dash technology, lives technology, and live technology. The best answer here is lives technology. This is the best answer because colons are used to connect two sentences in which the sentence after the colon provides more details or it expands on the first sentence. In this case, the sentence technology is the primary focus of young people today, provides more details, and it actually clarifies the first sentence. Our survey revealed some eye-opening results about young people and the role technology plays in their lives. Now, no change is not the best option because making a punctuation change by adding a colon and combining the two sentences gives us more clarity to understand the link between the two sentences. Now, lives dash technology is not the best answer because dashes are typically used to signal like an interruption in a sentences. To signal in interruptions in a sentence. They are used to connect two independent clauses or complete sentences, but they usually provide like a sudden interruption or a change in a thought, which could change the tone or the intended meaning of some information. A colon, on the other hand, helps to establish a clear connection between this introductory sentence and this main sentence here. Lives technology is not the best choice because semicolons are used to combine two complete sentences that have different ideas without using a conjunction like and, but, and, or. So our best choice here is lives technology. Now on to question number 2. Question number 2 uses the same passage, but it focuses on facts, opinions, and evaluating an argument. Since we already read the passage, I'm only going to examine what the test question calls for, which is, in this case, which title for Natalie Greenberg should the writer add at point 4 to improve the credibility of the passage? Point number 4, Natalie Greenberg from the Perkins Institute. Now, should Natalie Greenberg be a researcher, a clinical psychologist, a former graduate, or faculty? Now, to add credibility to any information or any study, Credentialed people, such as experts and professionals or people with relevant qualifications, are very important because their input shows specialized knowledge and skills and experience, and this adds a lot of validity to the information. Now, so our best choice here is going to be clinical psychologist. A clinical psychologist is our best choice because this entire passage is dealing with the psychosocial issues of technology and how it affects children. So, therefore, the credentialed person needs to be in the area of psychology, which in this case is a clinical psychologist. A researcher is not necessarily a credentialed person, meaning they may not be considered an expert in the field or have the relevant qualifications or the licensing in order to even be considered credentialed. So, researcher is not correct. A former graduate is also not correct because they are also not necessarily a credentialed person, meaning, of course, they may not be considered an expert in the field. Now, although faculty members are typically considered credentialed people because they are experts in their respective fields and they often hold advanced degrees, they are often more involved with providing scholarly input on like research projects and teaching and mentorship in academic publications. Again, in the case of this passage, is considering the psychosocial impact technology plays on the lives of young people. The focus is of a psychological perspective, and that requires credentialing in that area. So again, clinical psychologist is the best title for Natalie Greenberg to improve the credibility of this passage. We are on to question number 3. Question number 3 uses the same passage, but it focuses on main ideas, topic sentences, and supporting details. Now, again, to save time, I'm not going to read the entire passage. I am only going to examine what the test question calls for, which is, in this case, the writer wants to insert the quote below at point 6 in the passage. The feedback kids get from technology becomes the barometer for their self-worth, which could lead to depression. Should the writer make this revision? Yes, the quote strengthens the argument by emphasizing how feedback from technology is negatively affecting the kids. Yes, the quote provides an explanation for the survey's results. No, the quote does not provide relevant information. And no, the passage already has several quotes that would discredit the argument by overwhelming it with information. Now, the correct answer here is yes. The quote strengthens the argument by emphasizing how feedback from technology is negatively affecting the kids. The author should definitely make that revision at point 6 because this quote does strengthen the argument by emphasizing and providing more information on how technology affects the children and what it could lead to. So, yes, the quote strengthens the argument by emphasizing how feedback from technology is negatively affecting the kids is the correct answer. Now, although yes, the writer should make the revision, the quote does not provide an explanation for the survey's results. So this choice is not correct. No, the quote does not provide relevant information is not correct because we've already established that the quote gives us a more in-depth insight into the main idea presented in the paragraph. Now, no, the passage already has several quotes and would discredit the argument by overwhelming it with information. This is, of course, not correct because as we've stated, we've already established that the quote does indeed give us a more in-depth insight into the information that's provided in the passage. Now, next on to question number 4. This question uses the same passage, but it focuses on formal and informal language. Again, to save time, I am not going to read the entire passage. I am only going to examine what the test question calls for, which is in this case to select the correct informal or formal language option for the underlined portion at point 3 in the passage, which is a horrifying. Our choices are no change, a ridiculous, a decent, and an inordinate. Now, the phrase a horrifying is an informal descriptive phrase. And that can take away from the credibility of this passage. And therefore, a change from from an informal to a more formal approach is necessary here. This means that our choice no change is not correct. A ridiculous and a decent are also not correct because these two are considered to be informal. It's considered to be informal language, and they are subjective and they are descriptive phrases, and that also makes them informal. Now, our last choice here in inordinate is our correct answer because this is a more formal approach, a more formal word. It is not usually used as slang or informally. Also, the word has a specific meaning in that it means excessive. So our correct answer here is an inordinate. So I'm going to put that into the sentence so that we can see. Whether it's looking through social media sites, playing video games, texting friends, or surfing the web, our youth spends an inordinate amount of time on screens. Now we are on to question number 5. Okay, this question uses the same passage, but it focuses on punctuation. Now, what we need to do is we need to select the correct punctuation option for the portion, the underlined portion at point 9 in the passage, which is, as a result, cyberbullying has become rampant, which has led to more depression. Our choices are no change, result, comma, cyber, result, semicolon, cyber, and result, question mark, cyber. So clearly here, no change is not correct. This is not our best choice because we've learned previously that colons are used to connect two sentences in which the sentence after the colon provides more details or expands it on the first sentence. In this case, as a result is a phrase, is an introductory phrase, and it kind of sets up a cause and effect relationship between the previous sentence. So, no change is not correct. Our next choice, result, comma, cyber. This is the correct answer here. It's correct because commas are used after introductory phrases or clauses, and this helps to avoid confusion. So if I read this as a result, colon, I'm going to be looking for either a list to come out here, or I'm going to be looking for two sentences. And as a result is not a sentence, which means it can't stand alone. But if we put a comma here, this avoids a lot of confusion. As a result, comma, cyberbullying has become rampant, which has led to more depression. Result, semicolon, cyber is not correct because semicolons are used to combine two complete sentences with different ideas. And these sentences are combined without using a conjunction like and, but, and or. Result, question mark, cyber is not correct because as a result is a phrase. This is a phrase, as a result, and it cannot stand alone and make sense. And additionally, this phrase is definitely not a question, which does not require a question mark. Now on to question number 6. Question number 6 uses the same passage, but it focuses on pronouns. Again, to save time, I'm not going to read the entire passage. Let's see what we need to do. The pronoun, what we need to do is answer this question. The pronoun they at point 5 is referring to. Our choices are Greenberg, the technology, teens, no one, it's unclear. So let's go back to point 5. Greenberg explains screen time has an impact on how they view themselves. We need to see who the pronoun they is referring to. So pronouns require antecedents in order to be relevant. And an antecedent is a word or a phrase or a clause that a pronoun refers back to or replaces in its sentence. It's the noun or the noun phrase that the pronoun takes the place of, and it provides a lot of clarity and it helps to avoid confusion and repetition in writing. So in this case, they here is referring to teens in the previous sentence. So let's read both sentences. Natalie Greenberg from the Perkins Institute claims that studies have shown a direct correlation between too much screen time and rising depression rates among teens. Greenberg explains screen time has an impact on how they view themselves. They is referring back to teens or replacing the word teens here. So our answer here is teens. Greenberg is not correct because the pronoun they, usually refers back to more than one person, and Greenberg, of course, is only one person. The technology is not correct because there is no use of the word technology in either of these sentences. And our last choice, no one, it is unclear, is not correct because the pronoun they, of course, refers back to teens in the previous sentence. Now on to question number 7. Here we have a new passage, and the test questions focus is on spelling. Let's read the passage. A study of elementary age children and homework showed that daily homework causes high rates of anxiety and depression in young people. In contrast, schools that have gotten rid of the homework requirement has reported a drop in depression and anxiety among students. According to a nationwide analysis of standardized testing scores, schools that have gotten rid of homework have seen benefits. The results show that test scores have gone up incrementally from year to year. Schools that mandate daily homework have seen stagnant test scores. Therefore, it is safe to say that homework does nothing to enhance student learning at all. Now, we need to select the correct spelling option for point number 3 in the passage, which happens to be the word schools, spelled schools. Our choices are no change, schools with an apostrophe, schools apostrophe s, schools schools apostrophe s. Now, our answer here is no change. Schools is spelled correctly for how it's being used in the sentence. It is being used as a plural noun, meaning more than one school. Schools apostrophe is not correct because it's a plural possessive noun that has an apostrophe following the letter S. This means several schools own or possess something. There is nothing for the schools to possess in the sentence. Now, schools apostrophe S is also not correct because it is a singular possessive noun that has an apostrophe before the letter S. This means that one school owns or possesses something, and of course, there's nothing for the schools to possess in this particular sentence. Now, lastly, schools, schools apostrophe S is completely misspelled and it lacks any definite meaning. So, because we know to make a plural noun possessive, you simply place the apostrophe S after the S, and there's no need to add another S. So the answer here is no change. No change. Now, on to question number 8. Question number 8. The category here is spelling, and we have a new passage. So let's read it. Desserts are known as the forbidden food in most diets. But dark chocolate is a sweet that people can enjoy because of its undeniable health benefits. Categorized as an antioxidant, dark chocolate is known to fight free radicals, the unbalanced compounds created by cellular processes that can harm the body. This amazing sweet treat is also known to lower blood pressure, improve blood flow, reduce heart disease risk in people. Studies have shown that dark chocolate can even improve people's brain function. There is considerable evidence that dark chocolate can provide powerful benefits, but it is still loaded with calories, so consuming too much is not recommended. People can reap the benefits of dark chocolate by eating it in moderation. So again, we need to select the correct spelling option for the underlined word at point 1, which is in this case deserts. So our choices are no change, deserts, 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 and deserts, deserts. Very quickly, we know that our answer here is desserts. No change is not correct because deserts are lands that are filled with sand, not something sweet to eat. Our last two options are completely misspelled words, and desserts is correct because it is the correct spelling for a sweet treat, which is a dessert. Now, on to question number 9. Okay, we have the same passage, but the focus here is on main ideas, topic sentences, and supporting details. The writer wants to add the information below at point 2 in the passage. The average American consumes 22 pounds of candy a year, or an estimated 9 grams of candy per day. Should the writer make this revision? Yes, the statement if fact is a supporting detail. Yes, the statement if fact explains why Americans need to consume dark chocolate instead. No, the statement is a supporting detail, but it would be better placed later within the passage. Or no, the statement does not support the main idea that dark chocolate is good for you. Clearly, our answer here is no. The statement does not support the main idea that dark chocolate is good for you. It's essentially just stating how much candy, not even dark chocolate, Americans consume. So we know that, yes, the statement, in fact, is a supporting detail is not correct because this is not even speaking on dark chocolate. Yes, the statement of fact explains why Americans need to consume dark chocolate instead is incorrect because it does not speak to dark chocolate. And no, the statement is not a supporting detail, but would be better placed later within the passage. No, the statement is a supporting detail. Oh, that's completely incorrect because this is not a supporting detail. So there's no need to even consider placing it later in the passage. Now, on to question number 10. Okay, here we have the same passage. The focus here is on tone, mood, and transition words. We need to select the correct option for the underlined word at point 10 in the sentence, which is the underlined word here is moderation with an exclamation point. So what we are looking at here or trying to figure out is the correct, I would say, mood. So we need to take a look at this punctuation here. We need to pay attention to how this end punctuation is being used in the sentence. I'm sorry, and this actually dictates the tone of the sentence. So this is an exclamation mark, and this kind of indicates a strong emotion or surprise or excitement or emphasis. And, of course, these sentences that end with exclamation marks kind of give like a heightened emotional state. So this passage in particular is a form of what is called expository writing. And expository writing, it kind of just explains and it informs and it describes a particular subject or topic. The primary purpose is to provide like factual information and to present ideas or provide knowledge to a reader. And because this is an expository passage, the use of strong emotion is not a relevant approach. Therefore, the use of an exclamation point at the end of this sentence is just unnecessary, and it needs a punctuation change in order to stick to a more informative or informational tone. So no change is not correct because clearly we need a more informational tone to this and not an excited tone to this passage. Moderation followed by a question mark is not correct because the sentence is not asking a question. Moderation followed by a period. This is correct because the period helps to keep the expository tone of the passage, and moderation followed by a period but in quotation marks is not correct because quotation marks are usually used to indicate direct speech or spoken words or to highlight like unfamiliar or non-standard words. So moderation is just not an unfamiliar term or it's not non-standard. So this is incorrect. Now on to question number 11. Question number 11 uses the same passage, but the category here is punctuation. So what we need to do is select the correct punctuation option for the underlined portion at point 5 in the passage. In this case, it's lower blood pressure, improve blood flow, and reduce heart disease risk. Our choices are no change, lower blood pressure, and improve blood flow and reduce heart disease. Lower blood pressure, comma, improve blood flow, comma, and reduce heart disease. And our last choice is lower blood pressure hyphen improve blood and reduce heart disease. Now, no change is not correct because this is a list in this sentence and it definitely needs some separation by commas. It should be lower blood pressure, comma, improve blood flow, comma, and reduce heart disease risk. So therefore our answer is this one. Lower blood pressure, comma, improve blood flow, comma, and reduce heart disease. This placing the commas here eliminates a lot of confusion in reading this list, and commas are used to separate lists in a sentence. Now, this choice, lower blood pressure and improve blood flow and reduce heart disease risk, reduce heart disease is incorrect. Because in grammar, when you list two or more items, we typically use commas to separate each item and use the word and only before the last item. So the comma is known as the Oxford comma or the serial comma. And of course, like I said earlier, this helps to improve clarity and it eliminates a lot of confusion when reading. Now, lower blood pressure hyphen improve blood and reduce heart disease is not correct because hyphens or dashes are typically used to signal like interruptions in a sentence. And dashes usually provide like a sudden change in thought, and that can change the tone or the intended meaning of some information. And this is not the case here. This is a list that needs a serial comma in order to separate them. Now, on to question number 12. Okay, we have the same passage. The category here is main ideas, topic sentences, and supporting details. Let's see, we have which statement, if added at point 7 in the passage, would support the previous sentence. So let's read the previous sentence very quickly. Studies have shown that dark chocolate can even improve people's brain function. So which one of these statements would support that sentence? Let's look at our choices. When participants of a study were given a test, half of the participants were provided a dark chocolate bar prior to the examination. The participants who had eaten the antioxidants before answering the questions did significantly better than the participants who did not. Researchers spent several years putting together a study to discover how antioxidants affect memory, mood, and weight. This is why dark chocolate covered fruit is recommended as a helpful snack during your school day. And lastly, one study demonstrated that the increase of cacao consumption with antioxidants increased brain waves in areas related to cognition and memory. Now, we know that the main idea of this passage is dark chocolate is a sweet treat that people can enjoy because of its undeniable health benefits. This means that our answer here must be a relevant supporting detail to support the question. To support the sentence previously or support this sentence. Studies have shown that dark chocolate can improve people's brain function, but it must also support the main idea of the passage. Our first choice, when participants of a study were given a test, half of the participants were provided a dark chocolate bar prior to the examination. The participants who'd eaten the antioxidants before answering the questions did significantly better than the participants who had not. This is not correct because it does not support the main idea of the health benefits of eating dark chocolate. Now, our second choice, researchers spent several years putting together a study to discover how antioxidants affect memory, mood, and weight, is not correct because it doesn't actually support the previous sentence. Studies have shown that dark chocolate can even improve people's brain function. Now, our third choice, this is why dark chocolate covered fruit is recommended as a helpful snack during the day. It's not the best choice. It's not correct because it does not support the previous sentence or the main idea of the passage. And this, of course, leaves our last choice. One study demonstrated that the increase of cacao consumption with antioxidants increased brainwaves in areas related to cognition and memory. This supports both the main idea of the passage and the previous sentence, making it, again, the correct choice and the best choice here. Now, on to question number 13. Okay, we have the same passage, and our focus here is going to be on tone, mood, and transition words. Now, we need to select the correct option for the underlined portion at point 8 in the passage. So it looks like we're going to be working with transition words because but is a transition word. Okay, so let's read the whole sentence here. There is considerable evidence that dark chocolate can provide powerful benefits, but it is loaded with calories, so consuming too much is not recommended. Our choices are no change, for, and because. Now I'm going to say our answer here is no change because the conjunction but placed after the comma is being used correctly to link the ideas that contradict one another in some way, because that's what the conjunction but does. It links two sentences, but the ideas contradict themselves. Okay, so here are our contradicting ideas. Dark chocolate provides powerful benefits, but it's loaded with calories, meaning too much dark chocolate could produce some unwanted health benefits. So this is actually correct. So there's no change is our answer. Okay, so for is not correct because it's a conjunction used to signal the reason or the cause of something, similar to the word because. It often introduces a clause that explains why the action in the main clause has happened. It doesn't contradict ideas like the conjunction but is doing in this particular sentence. Now, the conjunction and is not correct because and connects sentences, phrases, words, or clauses that are grammatically equal, showing that those elements are the same thought. So since we have contradicting thoughts in the sentences, in the sentences, yes, we would not use the conjunction and. Now, because is not correct because this conjunction or transition word is typically used to introduce a clause, and it usually expresses like a reason or a cause for something. So our answer here is no change. Now on to our next question, which is question number 14. Again, here we have the same passage, and the focus here is on punctuation. And what we need to do is select the correct punctuation option for point number 3 or the underlined word at point 3 in the sentence. So the two sentences here read, categorized as an antioxidant. Dark chocolate is known to fight free radicals, period. The unbalanced compounds created by cellular processes that can harm the body. Now, right away, I can see that there is a mistake in grammar. Number one is that the unbalanced compounds created by cellular processes that can harm the body is not a complete sentence. There is no subject and predicate. It is essentially a phrase. So it can't stand alone. So the period here is incorrect. So no change is not correct because we see here we clearly need a change. So we have our other choices are radicals with an S, comma the, radicals, colon the, and radicals dash the. Now, radicals, comma the is the answer here. It is the answer because commas are used to connect complete sentences and independent or dependent clauses. A comma is needed here because the phrase, the unbalanced compounds created by the cellular processes that can harm the body, is defining what free radicals are in the previous sentence. And again, phrases such as this could not function as complete sentences. Okay, so radicals colon the is not the best choice or is not the correct choice here because, again, colons are used to connect two sentences in which the sentence after the colon provides more details or expands on the first sentence. So this could be a little tricky. It doesn't say that it connects a sentence and a phrase, or colons don't connect a sentence and a phrase. Colons connect two sentences. Okay. Now, radicals dash the is not correct because dashes are usually, of course, again, they signal interruptions in a sentence. Basically, like a set of parentheses does. They usually connect independent clauses or complete sentences, but they provide like a sudden interruption or a change in thought, which can change the tone or the intended meaning of some information. So radicals dash the is not correct. So on to question 15. Here we have a new passage and the focus here is subject and verb agreement. So let's read it. A study of elementary age children and homework showed that daily homework causes high rates of anxiety and depression in young people. In contrast, schools that have gotten rid of the homework requirement has reported a drop in depression and anxiety among students. According to a nationwide analysis of standardized testing scores, schools that have gotten rid of homework have seen benefits. The results show that test scores have gone up incrementally from year to year. Schools that mandate daily homework have seen stagnant test scores. Therefore, it is safe to say that homework does nothing to enhance student learning at all. What we need to do is select the correct subject and verb agreement option for the word that is underlined at point 4 in the passage. So here we have, in contrast, schools that have gotten rid of the homework requirement this is where point 4 is, reported a drop in depression and anxiety among students. Our choices are no change, have, is, and are. Now the correct answer here is have. And what I'm going to do is review real quickly the rules of English grammar. State that if a subject is plural, the verb must also be plural, and vice versa. If the subject is singular, the verb must also be singular. Now, right away, I know no change is not our best choice. Of course, because the answer here is have, but the subject here is schools, which is plural, and the verb has is singular. So no change is not correct because clearly there needs to be a change here. Have is correct because have is considered a plural verb and it agrees with the plural subject of schools. Now, is not correct because is a singular verb and we need a plural verb. And are, although it is a plural verb, it does not make sense in the sentence and it makes the sentence unclear. In contrast, schools that have gotten rid of homework requirement are reported a drop in depression and anxiety among students. It is just confusing, so it's not correct. Now, next on to question number 16. Question number 16 uses the same passage. The focus here is on the types of passages, text structures, genre, and the theme. Now we need to select let's see what we need to do. It says, should the author begin a new paragraph at point 6 here? So let's read. A study of elementary age children and homework showed that daily homework causes high rates of anxiety and depression in young people. In contrast, schools that have gotten rid of the homework requirement has reported a drop in depression and anxiety among students. Now, according to a nationwide analysis of standardized testing scores, schools that have gotten rid of homework have seen benefits. The results show that test scores have gone up incrementally from year to year. Schools that mandate daily homework have seen stagnant test scores. Therefore, it is safe to say that homework does nothing to enhance student learning at all. Let's look at our choices. Yes, 2 paragraphs would allow the supporting details to be presented in an organized way. Yes, the second paragraph introduces a new topic within the passage. No, this passage is better presented as one cohesive paragraph. And no, 2 paragraphs would create conflicting main ideas within the same paragraph. Now, our answer here is going to be yes. The second paragraph introduces a new topic within the passage. Actually, we have 2 topic sentences here. The first one is this: a study of elementary age children and homework showed that daily homework causes high rates of anxiety and depression in young people. The next topic sentence is, according to a nationwide analysis of standardized testing scores, schools that have gotten rid of homework have seen benefits. So we've gone here, there's a shift of information. We've gone from anxiety and depression, homework causing anxiety and depression in young people, to schools that have gotten rid of homework have seen benefits in standardized test scores. Okay, schools that mandate daily homework have seen stagnant. So we have 2 topics here: depression and anxiety and improved test scores. So yes, the second paragraph introduces a new topic within the passage. Our first choice, yes, 2 paragraphs would allow the supporting details to be presented in an organized way, is reasonable, but it's not correct because it's clearly shifts of information in this passage. Now, our third choice, no, this passage is better presented as one cohesive paragraph. This is not correct because, again, there are 2 topic sentences within the passage and it's a clear shift in information. And our last choice, no, 2 paragraphs would create conflicting main ideas within the same paragraph. This is not correct because while the main ideas shift, they do not conflict with one another. Now on to question 17. Okay, we have the same passage, but the focus here is on punctuation. We need to select the correct punctuation option for the underlined portion at point 5 in the sentence, which in this case is in depression. Let's see here. Our options are in depression, in depression, in depression, no punctuation, and in period depression. The answer here is in depression with no added punctuation because there are no phrases that require the use of a comma, making our first choice, in depression, incorrect. Second, the sentence does not contain 2 independent or complete sentences that need to be separated by a semicolon or a period, making our second choice, in depression, incorrect, and our last choice, in period depression, incorrect. So let's move on to our next question, which is question number 18. We have a different passage, and the focus here is on main ideas, topic sentences, and supporting details. In the past 10 to 15 years, koalas have been repeatedly harmed or killed in traffic accidents. When the animals cross busy roads, highways, and intersections to get their food source, the eucalyptus tree, many of them meet a terrible fate. Australian developers have been taking over koala habitats to keep up with the country's booming population. This has resulted in the endangerment of the country's most beloved animal. Concerned individuals have taken action by creating koala pathways, routes traveling over roads, highways, and intersections to ensure koalas keep safe. However, koala hospitals have been established in these areas to rehabilitate the injured animals. Now, which option would best function as a topic sentence at the beginning of this passage to unite the information? Our choices are over 4,000 koalas are hurt or injured each year by automobiles. Koalas spend most of their time in trees but need to occasionally travel across the roads to move around. Human encroachment on natural habitats has negatively impacted the koala population. And Australia's building development projects have tripled over the past decade. Now, right away, I know that our answer is human encroachment on natural habitats has negatively impacted the koala population. All of these sentences here support this topic sentence. It clearly speaks to Australia's booming population and how the koala population has been negatively impacted, and therefore they are now endangered. So this is the correct answer. Over 4,000 koalas are hurt or injured each year by automobiles. This is incorrect because this is a supporting detail. It is not a topic sentence. Koalas spend most of their time in trees but need to occasionally travel across roads to move around. This is also or could also be considered a supporting detail in this sentence, in this passage, excuse me. And Australia's building development projects have tripled over the past decade. This is incorrect because this has nothing to do with any of the information um, in this passage. It does not deal with Australia's booming population, nor does it focus on or support um, the endangerment of the koala in Australia. Sorry, correct answer here is human encroachment on the natural habitats has negatively impacted the koala population. Now, on to question number 19. Question 19 uses the same passage, but it focuses on summarizing text and using text features. Excuse me. This is the same passage, and the writer wants to add the following statement at point 9 in the passage. Point 9 is the very end of the passage. Several foundations have created awareness projects and look for sponsorship to reestablish habitats for koalas. Should the writer make this revision? Our choices are yes, the statement summarizes the details and helps conclude the steps being taken to help the koala population. Yes, the statement leaves a reader with a positive note about fixing the endangerment of koalas. No, the statement is off topic and not useful as a summarizing sentence. And no, the statement is relevant but does not belong at the end of the passage. The answer here is yes, the statement summarizes the details and helps conclude the steps being taken to help the koala population. Now, this passage begins with explaining the dangers of koalas that koalas face, and then it transitions into the action being taken to keep them safe. And so the sentence, several foundations have created awareness projects and look for sponsorship to help reestablish habitats for koalas. This helps to summarize the details in the passage, and it brings the passage to a reasonable conclusion. So yes, this is our correct answer. The statement summarizes the details. No, the statement is off topic and not useful as a summarizing sentence. This is not correct because we've already established that the statement is a very good summarizing sentence and it does help to summarize the passage. And lastly, no, the statement is relevant but does not belong at the end of the passage. Yes, the statement is relevant, but it definitely belongs at the end of the passage, and therefore this is not correct. Now on to question 20. Question 20 uses the same passage, but it focuses on spelling. Here we need to select the correct spelling option for the underlined word at point 3 in the passage, which in this case is busy-roads. Our choices are no change, busy roads, no space, busy roads, 2 words, and busy apostrophe roads. Now, the correct answer here is busy roads, 2 words with no added punctuation. Busy is an adjective describing the noun roads. There is no need for a hyphen as it is here because there are no compound adjectives that come before the noun roads. Now, hyphens have several uses in writing, but a hyphen in this case can only be used if there were 2 compound adjectives. For example, the yellow brick roads. The hyphen would be placed in between the adjectives yellow and brick. Now, no change, of course, is not correct because clearly we can see that this hyphen is incorrectly placed. Busy roads with no space is not correct because busy is an adjective describing the noun road and it needs to be 2 words. And busy apostrophe roads is not correct because the apostrophe is incorrectly used and placed and the word is combined when it should not be. So again, the answer here is busy roads, 2 words. Next, on to question 21. Question 21 also uses the same passage, but it focuses on punctuation. We need to select the correct punctuation option for the underlined word at point 5 in the passage. The word here that's underlined is countries, the plural form of the word country, C-O-U-N-T-R-I-E-S. Let's read the sentence to see if this word is being used correctly. Australian developers have been taking over koala habitats to keep up with the country's booming population. Okay, so right away I can see that this is incorrectly used because this is the plural form of the word countries, meaning more than one country. And the word that we need here is the singular possessive of the word country. So clearly no change is not our option. Our next choice is countries, C-O-U-N-T-R-Y apostrophe S. This is definitely the singular possessive form of the word country. This means that the booming population belongs to the country. So this is the correct answer. Next, we have Countrys. This is incorrect because it's misspelled. And lastly, we have Countrys apostrophe. If this were spelled correctly, this would be the plural possessive of the word countries, meaning that more than one country, the population would belong to more than one country, but this is misspelled and we don't need a plural possessive here. Now on to question number 22. Again, we have the same passage, and this question focuses on main ideas, topic sentences, and supporting details. Now, the writer wants to add the following statistic at point 6 in the passage. This is here. There are considered to be less than 80,000 wild koalas left, approximately 1% of what the population was before 1900. Should the writer make this revision? Let's look at our choices. Yes, the statistic is relevant and adds supporting information about koala endangerment. Yes, the statistic adds a sense of urgency to help save the koalas. No, the statistic is relevant, but would be better placed at another point within the passage. And no, the statistic is irrelevant to the main idea of the passage. Now, the sentences before point 6, let's read those sentences. In the past 10 to 15 years, koalas have been repeatedly harmed or killed in traffic accidents. When the animals cross busy roads, highways, and intersections to get their food source, the eucalyptus tree, many of them meet a terrible fate. Australian developers have been taking over koala habitats to keep up with the country's booming population. This has resulted in the endangerment of the country's most beloved animal. Let's put the statistic in. There are considered to be less than 80,000 wild koalas left, approximately 1% of what the population was before 1900. Now, this statistic definitely supports this sentence. This has resulted in the endangerment of the country's most beloved animal. This actually gives more credibility to this statement. It actually backs it up and proves it. So, should the writer make this revision? Yes, the statistic is relevant and it adds supporting information about koala endangerment. Now, yes, the statistics adds a sense of urgency to help save the koalas. This is not correct because the focus should be on providing details that support the main idea of the passage and supporting the previous sentences, not about creating a sense of urgency to help save the koalas. No, the statistic is relevant, but would be better placed at another point in the passage. This is not our best choice because the next few sentences actually begin to shift in information, making point 6 in the passage the best place and the best area to place this new information. And no, the statistic is irrelevant to the main idea of the passage. This is not correct because the statistic is definitely relevant to the main idea of the passage. Now, on to question number 23. Okay, question 23 continues with the same passage, and it is focusing on main ideas, topic sentences, and supporting details. Now, our question is which sentence provides another supporting detail to address the topic of this passage? Now, remember, this entire passage is about the endangerment of the koalas and how Australia's increasing population has helped with that endangerment, and how the country is coming up with resources and to save or to help the koala and keep the koala safe. Now, let's look at our choices here. Kangaroos, emus, and wombats are other popular animals in Australia. Australia has a diverse population of citizens from various countries throughout the world. Koalas are not bears, but marsupials, mammals that carry their young in a pouch. And Australia has erected over 500 koala pathways over the last 2 years. Now, considering what this passage is about and the main idea of the passage, the answer here is Australia has erected over 500 koala pathways over the past 2 years. This is another supporting detail to address the topic of this passage. Kangaroos, emus, and wombats are other popular animals in Australia. Is not correct because the passage never mentions kangaroos, emus, and wombats. The passage is about Australia's population and how it is endangering the koala. Australia has a diverse population of citizens from various countries throughout the world is not correct because, again, its focus, the focus of this passage is on the endangerment of the koala, not Australia's diverse population. And Lastly, koalas are not bears but marsupials, mammals that carry their young in a pouch, is not correct because, again, the focus of this passage is on Australia's population and the endangerment of the koala, not the fact that koala are marsupials. Now on to the next question, which is question number 24. Here we have the same passage, but the focus here is on tone, mood, and transition words. We need to select the correct option for the underlined word at point 8 in the passage. The underlined word here is however. The entire sentence reads, however, koala hospitals have been established in these areas to rehabilitate the injured animals. Our choices are no change, and with a comma, so with a comma, and in addition with a comma. Now we are going to be, not going to be, we are working with transition words here. Transition words are words or phrases that help to link ideas. They link sentences and they link paragraphs together. And they help us see connections between ideas and how those ideas relate to one another. Transition words can show sequence, like when we use the words first, second, and then. They can show contrast, as in the words however, but, and on the other hand. Transition words can show cause and effect. They can show in addition by using words like also, moreover, and furthermore. And they can show conclusion by using words like finally, summary, and in conclusion. Of course, there are other relationships, but these are the most common. Now, the word however is a transition word that shows a contrast or a difference in perspective and information. If we read the last portion of the passage, concerned individuals have taken action by creating koala pathways, routes, traveling over roads, highways, intersections to ensure koalas keep safe. However, koala hospitals have been established in these areas to rehabilitate the injured animals. Now, clearly, however, does not belong here. Why? Because this sentence, koala hospitals have been established in these areas to rehabilitate the injured animals, actually adds more information to the previous sentence. So since we know that this sentence adds more information and it does not contrast or create a difference in information here, we know that there needs to be a different transition word here. And that means that our choice, no change, is not correct. Our answer here is in addition, because in addition is a transition phrase that helps to add more information. Now, and followed by a comma is not correct because and is a conjunction, and usually links phrases, clauses, and sentences together. And the other thing is starting a sentence with a conjunction in any type of academic writing is often seen as informal. And this is not a piece of informal writing. So followed by a comma is not correct because so is a filler word that is used to transition to a new topic. And the passage is not moving to a new topic at this point. So again, our answer here is in addition followed by a comma. Now on to our next question, which is our last question, which is question number 25. And it uses the same passage, but it focuses on punctuation. And what we need to do is select the best punctuation option for the word at point 7 in the passage. The word at point 7 is by, followed by a colon. And the entire sentence reads, concerned individuals have taken action by, colon, creating koala pathways, routes traveling over roads, highways, and intersections to ensure koalas keep safe. Now, right away, I can see that there are several mistakes here because, and there's, well, I want to say mistakes is a very confusing sentence. The first confusing The first confusing point is here with the colon. Now, colons, of course, as we learned earlier, they connect two sentences where the sentence behind the colon actually expands on and provides more information on the sentence that comes before the colon. Now, colons do also preview a list of items within a sentence, but this is not a list. It looks tricky. It looks like a list, but it is not a list. It is actually koala pathways. This routes traveling over roads, highways, and intersections to ensure koalas keep safe is actually explaining or describing what the koala pathways are. So this is not a list here, creating koala pathways, routes traveling over roads, highways. Now, we could read it that way, but that would be incorrect. So right away, we know that no change is not correct because the colon does not need to be here at all. Now, actually, this phrase, by creating koala pathways, is actually a prepositional phrase. That's the other way. The other reason that I know that this does not need a colon here, because this is a prepositional phrase. So, by with a semicolon is also not correct. The correct answer here is by with no punctuation. And the last choice here is not correct because this is short for goodbye. We are finally finished. Pat yourself on the back for taking this practice test with me. As a reminder, you can access a free full-length Accuplacer practice test using the links in the description below. You will also find our Accuplacer online study course with additional Accuplacer practice tests, videos, study lessons, flashcards, and more, all in the links below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'm sending you the very best of success while you study.